paid off with a quick bite. As always, location was key. Right, we're all loaded up, just making our way down to the estate lake. Right, through the turnstile. It's an absolute pain in the ass. There's a guy on the opposite bank. Then there's a guy sort of halfway down. Where the guy is down to my left on this bank is the area that Hugh recommended. Basically, Hugh was here the other week. Unfortunately, he did a blog. Managed to delete all his footage. He had a couple of fish as well. He managed to format the card, forgetting that I hadn't been able to download the footage off of it at the time. So he ended up losing all the footage. So you should be watching that really, as opposed to this this session. But yeah, he's deleted that one. Fish out in the open water in front of me as well. God, it's quite a lot on the surface. I haven't got any zigs with me. I haven't got any zig kit either. As I've travelled really light, I've left a lot of that, thinking I probably wouldn't need it. And there is a fail straight away. Any good? No? Load of fish on a top up there.
Yeah, I know, I saw it.
Obviously liking the sun. Can't see anything down here. Oh, I can see the bottom to her, and there's absolutely nothing out there. Then my best shout is up by the dam where those fish are moving around. They look active. Maybe when the sun drops, might be a chance of a bite. Obviously this kiddie's covering the big snag, which I think is the area Hugh was speaking about, where fish have been holding up. Right, we're back on the bank. You join me up on the estate lake again, a little estate lake. I've come up here for a very short session, got about 3 hours. So I'm up on the lake now. I've had a good walk around. I haven't got long, so what I'm going to do is try and get the rods out as quick as possible before I mess around doing any filming. I have had a good walk around pretty much the whole lake, and I've seen some fish up towards the dam end, which is quite surprising, and they are up in the water. So I haven't got any zig kit with me, which is a bit of a fail. So I'm going to fish relatively close in, and there's been fish coming along the marginal shelf. I'm going to see if I can get some of them to drop down and pick up a hook bait. So that is the tactic anyway. Let's crack on, get some rods out and see if we can get a fish. Well, don't bite me then. So I thought I'd show you quickly how I do my slip Ronnies. So I've got a section there tied up. That's the hook section with the Ronnie swivel. I've just mounted the bait onto the mini ring swivel. And basically what I've got is one of these little quarter hook keepers. But what I do is I actually make up, as you can see, I make up all my slip D attachments, Ronnie attachments, to the swivels. And then all I need to do is obviously put a hook bait on one, and you get the rig, and this is essentially just a boom section. This one's fluorocarbon, and on the end of it I've got a little ESP quick Ronnie link, and I just nick my swivel onto there, pull that bead down, and it just locks on, and there's just enough of a gap so it gives the swivel plenty of room to move. You can obviously make the gap a little bit bigger to give it lots of movement, and then it's got plenty of movement where it can turn to nail in a fish's face. And that is how I do it, nice and easy, nice and quick, and it just means that I can quickly change the hook bait and get a rig back out fishing without any messing around. Nice and simple. Right, rod number one going out then. Just got a little Ronnie on there with a PB pop up. I've got a mesh bag of the new insect meal. There's also some krill meal and the DNA bug stick mix. I've put a few different oils and liquids in with it as well. Absolutely honks. So not a lot of food, but a lot of attraction. This one I'm literally going to just underarm to my right slightly. as I've seen some fish cruising around there. I ain't got the rod rest out yet, so I'm going to just lay him on the ground nicely, slacking the clutch off. Number 2 is exactly the same, except for this one's on the Fruitalicious. So all I've done is made up these little bags with a little tag, nick the hook through towards the knot end, and then just wrap, basically hold the slip D, wrap over the top, and just nick it on. All that does is that holds that slip D in place so that it doesn't sort of wrap around anything. Obviously the weight of the bag sometimes can sort of change how it acts in the air, so that just holds it nicely, so you know it's presented well, nice and simple. And then it's just a case with this one, I am going to just underarm it out in front of me. Again, not too far out. Sink that line down. Right, short session fishing rod set up. 2 alarm heads on a buzzer bar, obviously on a bank stick, that's obviously your front rest, and then a peg is your back rest. Saves you having to carry loads of metal work. You have got to hope the ground is soft, but generally speaking it is. Happy days. So then, rods are out, we are fishing, and yeah, I've got a couple of little slip D Ronnies out there with a couple of very oily sort of little ground bait bags, and I'm using a couple of new products from DNA, trying out. I've got the insect meal made up in the bags, and it's a very sort of potent mix, and it's actually what they use to make the DNA bug boilies. So yeah, I'm thinking it's probably going to produce the goods pretty quickly. So the rods are out there, we're fishing. Hopefully we're going to get a bite today. I've only got about 3 hours fishing, so we'll see what happens, but yeah, let's hope it goes rattling off and we can have one. Well, the rod's been out about 10-15 minutes maybe. That little look around has paid off. As I said, I've had a good walk around, went all the way down to the other end up to where the stream comes into the lake, and didn't really see anything further up. There's 2 guys bang in the middle of the lake, almost fishing opposite each other, and I didn't really want to go up near there because I thought any fish were going to be cut off. And literally as soon as I walked in, there were fish down there on the surface, and I went up, had a little chat to the lad that's up to my left, and I asked if he'd asked how long he'd been here, and he said he hadn't been here that long. I said there was a load of fish on the surface, and he said, oh, I did see them, but he obviously didn't decide to get in down here, which is good for me. So I've basically dropped out a couple of these Ronnies with the stinky little mesh bags of the new insect meal and a few other bits and bobs, and yeah, the rod's gone off. So I am well happy with that. It is a common. God, it's fighting. It looks really nice. The water's so clear at the moment. You can see them fighting, lovely. Especially with the Polaroids on. I've got the Polaroid glasses with me today, as it's so bright. We've got ourselves a common. Nice for a short session, isn't it? Literally drop the rod out, and out about 10 or 15 minutes, off it's gone. I'm using the 9 foot 2.75 pound Prologic C series compacts. So these fold down, got retractable butt section, fold down really nice and small, 9 foot, nice and compact, perfect for these short sessions. And I use them in a light test curve of 275, as they're more fun to play fish on. And there's fish up to sort of low 30s in here, so it's more than adequate for fish of that size. There's not really any snags or anything, although I did get cut off by a good fish actually. Obviously that's nothing to do with the test curve of the rod. But yeah, there's nothing to really cause you any problems, and you can let them fight around. I can't believe how clear the water is. And he's in. First bite then, little cricketback common, and yeah, didn't take long, did it? He's very lively, so I don't want to muck around too long. But yeah, little cricketback common, first bite of the session, about 15 minutes, and one of those little pop-ups on the Ronnie's has gone off with that little bag of that nice little ground bait mix. So let's slip her back, see if we can get another one. Right, back she goes then. Right then, just had that fish, another Fruitalicious, little mesh bag of the little ground bait, oily ground bait mix. Let's flick it back out, see if there's any more about. Still a lot of fish moving around in the upper layers. The sun is really nice and warm at the moment. I didn't put any freebies out then either, literally just that mesh bag with a little pop-up. It's just quite a lot of attraction, not a lot of food, enough to sort of spur them into sort of picking it up really, which is all we want. You know, when you've only got like 3 hours, you don't really want to be putting in loads of bait and actually feeding them. Really, you just want to put in enough to get a bite. So that is literally what we're doing today. Right then, so I've had a fish, nice little common, happy days, on the bug, I think it was on a Fruitalicious, and the oily ground bait bag, so that worked really quickly. Took about 15 minutes I reckon, and I had a bite on that rod, and yeah, nothing's happened since. I've actually been watching a group of fish moving around on the surface, cruising around in the sun, and I've actually reeled the rods in and was going to move. Well, I have moved. The kit is sort of behind me over there at the moment with the swan guard in it. And basically there's a bit of an outlet, if I can show you. There's an outlet sort of down here. It goes into like this little arm, which all the water channels down and goes out of the lake. Cause it's essentially a dammed lake really. It's a little estate lake on an estate, but it is essentially a little dammed reservoir. And next to it there's a tiny little inlet, and I think there's loads of oxygen going into this area, and because it's shallow and the sun's out, I think the fish have been getting stacked in here, and basically they're just warming themselves up and getting a load of oxygen at the same time. Now I don't think they're really feeding. I've seen a couple drop down and have a little look around, so that is why I've packed up and moved into here. But since I've done that, they've all pissed off, so typical fish fashion. But we'll see what's happening. I haven't got that much time really now, so they might drift back in here. Potentially I could get a couple of rods out now before they come back and it doesn't sort of disturb them, and yeah, I might not spook them, but at the same time I don't want to sit here and put the rods out if the fish ain't going to be here and they're going to do one. So we'll see what happens, and I'll catch up with you in a bit. Right, so just because this is a bit different, I'm going to attempt to see if I can have one out of this little corner. The fish seem to be going along the dam ball area and then going right up into the back, up along this little channel, and they're sort of holding sort of more to that far side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flick a rod out towards sort of where that bush is, and then maybe put one a little bit further along the dam wall, and just see if a fish would drop down and give me a bite. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to come right down underneath this tree. I'm literally going to flick a rod over there like that. Right. This is definitely different. I'm just gonna lay the rods down on the deck, because I haven't really got long. And lay the rods down on the deck. Second rod, I'm going to put further down underneath this tree line. Still going to go for an underarm. That's it. Cracking. Dip that one. So the right hand rod I've put out just off of this tree here, and the left hand rod is just out underneath this canopy, and basically the fish have been sort of moving around out in this open water area, which is essentially where I was. I was sort of a couple of swims down just in here is where I had the fish, and the fish have been sort of out in this open water bit cruising around, and so I kept seeing them coming down in here, and I thought I'd come down into this corner and have a little bit of an investigation, see what was going on. And there was basically a group of about 15 or 20 fish just sort of out in this body, and they were going into here, and sort of along this bit there were fish dropping down and clouding it up a little bit, where they were obviously having a little bit of a feed. Now most of them didn't look interested, but there were a couple that were dropping down. There's a fish just out around here at the moment, I don't know if you'll be able to see it when at a polarised lens, but there's a fish just swimming out there at the moment. And I did see one come up into here a second ago, but I don't know if they're in there anymore. The thing is, the sun is so awkward, I can't see. Yeah, that one is swimming off. You can see there's such a glare coming in from this side where the sun's so bright. It's making the filming quite awkward, and it's quite hard to try and show you. So I come behind this tree. I've got a rod just off of there. I've got one just up under this sort of canopy of trees, just on the little oily ground bait bags, and a little slip-dee Ronnie, no freebies or anything, and we'll see if anything comes to investigate. There's a couple of fish cruising around in this bit where you can't see at the moment. There's definitely some around. I think, to be honest, I might have left it a bit late. I think the sun's probably starting to go, and they're probably going to not come back in here again, but it's worth it a bit of a go. I've had a fish already, so it's just a bit of fun. See if I can nick one out of the corner. Right, I've got about 50 minutes or so before I'm going to have to reel in, but because the light levels are starting to go, I am going to finish the video here. Now, if I do get another one, I will sort of cut the video at some point and drop it in, I guess, or maybe stick it in at the end. But anyway, one fish, nice little result on a very short sort of 3-hour session in the winter. And observations paid off. As always, location was key, and having a good walk around the lake, tracking down those fish, seeing them cruising around. I've obviously dropped in near where I've seen a few fish, and it's paid off with a quick bite. Shame the second move into the corner hasn't paid off, but I think I left it too late. The weather has been starting to get colder, and the fish have just moved out of that shallower water, and yeah, it's not worked, but it's worth giving it a go. As I've already said, I'd prefer to try it and it not work than not do it and always wonder if it would work. So anyway, that is the end of the session. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please subscribe to the channel, check out the social media shown at the bottom screen now, and until next time, get out on the bank, catch a few, and be lucky. I will see you in the next video.